सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। To study anything, we need certain kind of qualification. What do you mean by qualification? Suppose I am sitting next to astronaut, let us say, and I casually ask him, tell me something about space science. So first question that he will ask me, or he or she will ask me, is how much do you know? So that from there he can start. If I don't know what is space, what is earth, what are the planets, what is the sun, then he has to start from first standard school knowledge onwards, isn't it? So first thing that is important before we start studying anything is qualification. You will get admission to post graduation only when you have qualification of graduation, isn't it? Now on this spiritual path, in this spiritual journey in Vedanta, what is the qualification required? Who can walk this path of spirituality? So generally in Vedanta it is explained as sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari. Person who is eligible is the one who is endowed with fourfold qualification. Sadhana means chatushtaya, fourfold. And those means are viveka, vairagya, shamadhi shat sampatti and mumukshutva. Now you will say, I think Vedji forgot that this is Chinmay Parichaya class and not Vedanta. I have not forgotten, but last session we started to discuss about this fourfold qualification when we were seeing the life story of our Pujya Gurudev. So that's why I am giving little bit of introduction. So Viveka Vairagya means discrimination and dispassion, to understand that there is no essence in worldly enjoyments. As long as I continue to think that I will get joy from outside world, if I eat this, if I go here, if I get that, then I will be happy. As long as we are thinking that, we are not going to remain happy. Why? Because every single enjoyment of the world is limited and it does not give us fulfillment. Now this kind of thinking is what is called as Viveka. We saw last session that Pujya Gurudev, when he was at the peak of his career, though he had started, but he was quite famous. But when he saw this paradox, when he saw that in Delhi, when he went for that party, and he saw that these are all wealthy people, but their life is so shallow. There is no fulfillment, satisfaction in their life. They have got the wealth, but still they are not happy. That made him think. What? That by doing the same what I have done so far, I am not going to get the permanent joy. So if I want something special, if I want something permanent, I have to go for a permanent solution. This is called as Viveka. Now once we have Viveka, once we have that clear-cut understanding that, okay, this is what is going to give me permanent happiness and not this, not the worldly enjoyment, then I must have courage to give up what is not going to give me that satisfaction. That is called as next step of Vairagya. That also came to Pujya Gurudev's life in a very different way when his very dear friend passed away at a very young age. That again opened up, entire, what we say, new dimension in Gurudev's life, where he started thinking, what is life? Person with whom I have been since my childhood, I've been playing with him in my childhood, then we grew up together, we were staying together. Recently he got married, he has a young son, and he is no more now. Again a thought came, what is the purpose of human life? Are we supposed to live like this? That made him think, and that made him decide that I don't want to go by this road of worldly enjoyment. So Vairagya, dispassion, detachment also arose in Pujya Gurudev's life. The next step is Samadhi Shat Sampatti, the inner wealth which is of sixfold. Shama, Dama, etc., mind control, sense control, withdrawal, forbearance, faith, concentration. These are the 6 values which are called as Samadhi Shat Sampatti. Now that is where we have to start. So now we are into the phase where Pujya Gurudev has come across spirituality through Swami Shivanandaji. We have seen in the last session the life story of Swami Shivanandaji also in short, and how Pujya Gurudev came in contact with Shivanandaji, how he got transformed. So that is where now he decided that he must take up certain kind of sadhana, certain kind of tapas, austerity. And what is that austerity that he took? He took the austerity of pilgrimage, yatra. Have you heard this word yatra before? The yatra that we understand and the yatra that is actually supposed to be is very different. According to us, yatra means book the ticket nicely of some plane or railway or bus, etc. Go there, go to a nice hotel, rest because you have traveled. Next day early morning you get up, go to the temple because it is necessary. No, that's why telling temple's name only you have come from home. So that is important. Then you go, finish everything, temple visit, etc. in half an hour. Rest of the day, shopping, sightseeing. Isn't it? Yatra is not supposed to be like that. What did Gurudev take up? So he took up Char Dham Yatra. This is not Char Dham of India, this is the Char Dham of North. There are 2 Char Dhams, by the way, for those who want to know more. So we generally say Char Dham of India is going to 4 important places, Puri and Rameshwaram, Dwarka and Kashi, etc. These are called as Char Dham of India. But Char Dham in Himalayas is the very famous 4 places, Gangotri, Yamunotri. Okay, let me go by the way it is supposed to be done. Yamunotri first, then Gangotri, then Kedarnath, and then Badrinath. These are the 4 places that they visit for Char Dham. Yamunotri is the place from where Yamunaji starts. Yamuna river starts from that place. Gangotri, you can imagine, you can guess also, the place where Gangaji starts. Though the actual starting point is still up, 11 kilometers up in Gomukh, but this is the place where you can see the water. In Gomukh it's only ice, right? So that is the place where Gangaji originates from. Then Kedarnath is probably the most powerful Shiva worship place in whole of the world. Kedarnath is the place of Lord Shiva, and Badrinath is the place of Lord Vishnu, where Vedavyasji also did lot of tapasya, wrote Mahabharata, etc. in Badrinath. So these are the 4 places, and Pujya Gurudev took this yatra. This is the photo from that time, where he took this Char Dham Yatra on foot at that time. Okay, we are talking about 1948, April 1948 to June. So 3 months continuously he went to these 3 places. Around 500 miles he walked, and he was accompanied by his cousin actually, who took sannyasa, and his name is Swami Jnananandji, and one more person was there. So with 3 of them, they decided to take this entire Char Dham Yatra. By God's grace, we have got lot of information of this yatra because he wrote a book on it. Gurudev himself, when he was traveling, he used to maintain diary. So from that diary, later on, some people, put everything together and brought out this book called My Trek Through Uttarakhand. This is the book written by Gurudev himself, taken from his notes, from his diary. So every day he will write the date, and then he will start that. He will tell, at this point we started from this place, and very cold, no food. See, that time no money, okay. So they will go, some dharmashala, etc. will be there. Somebody generous person offers bhiksha, they will eat. If nobody offers, they will sleep like that. And they will walk so many, some places he has written 21 miles, 22 miles, like that they used to walk every day. And then take rest wherever they find place, next day get up again and then again start on the journey. So this is real tapas, austerity. Go through such a difficult phase, but that actually changes you. So some of the interesting things that we can find in Pujya Gurudev's diary are his drawings. So as you can see there, what he is seeing, he has drawn. So Jamunotri actually at that time how it used to look. And down is Uttarkashi, I think. Yeah. This is the picture of Uttarkashi. Uttarkashi is on the way to Gangotri. So from Rishikesh, if you are going to Gangotri, Uttarkashi comes on the way. This is the place now where we have ashram also, and we will come to Uttarkashi, importance of Uttarkashi very soon. So he used to draw this, whatever he is seeing, he used to draw. And he used to also maintain, this is his expense, okay. So somebody gives money, he'll keep, and then he will write everything. On this day, how much annas, not rupee, annas were spent. Tea, because so cold, no? So at least tea should go inside to create that heat. So he used to write all these things. And very interesting thing about yatra is, the places of pilgrimage are great because Mahatmas stay there. In Sanskrit, the place of pilgrimage is called as Tirtha Kshetra. And Tirtha means that which purifies. So who makes that place so pure? So they say Mahatmas who stay there make that place so pure. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. If Mahatmas, if you go to a Tirtha Kshetra and if you don't meet any Mahatma, if you don't sit there and listen to the wisdom that they have, we have not actually had any yatra. So the important thing is to meet great people who are there in these places. And Gurudev also, and they did that. Here during this yatra, he met Sri Swami Taponji Maharaj for the first time, who will become very important to him. Today only we will see why he is so important. But he met Sri Swami Taponji Maharaj during this yatra, and met so many other great masters also. One very interesting story that I remember, it's not there in the book, but I think Gurudev told it to somebody and it was noted. He said that when we went to one place, in one cave, one Mahatma was sitting. Hardly anything on his body, very cold place, but he is not wearing many clothes or anything. And these people went and they prostrated, and suddenly Gurudev's eyes went to his feet. And on his both feet, maggots were there. Maggots are actually kind of insects who eat the skin. See, leech etc., they will suck the blood. This maggots etc. will eat the skin. And there were so many maggots on his feet. And he was talking. And while talking, the Mahatma also looked down. So one maggot, while eating, fell down. So this Mahatma quietly picked it up and put it again on his body and kept talking. Now, see, one mosquito is too much for us. Forget about actual mosquito also. Thought of mosquito being there, that itself is done for us. We immediately start 10 times we will switch on the light and see whether there is any mosquito or not. They are actually eating the skin and he is talking normally. So after some time, Gurudev could not control. And he said, don't you feel pain? They are eating on you. Don't you feel anything? He said, I keep telling everybody I am not the body. If I don't follow, then what is the meaning to those words? When we actually meet Mahatmas, we come to know what life is, what tapas is. Till that time, we are living in our own bubble. We think that life is like this only, it has to be lived. That such incidences, opened up Pujya Gurudev's, new avenue for him, that this is a life which is worth living. Now you see the paradox, where in Delhi, everything they had, lot of money and cars and this and that, still they were not satisfied. And here in some cave, no clothes to wear, no money, nothing was there, but that Mahatma is so happy. He is talking to everybody, jolly. So this is the next phase of Pujya Gurudev's life, that is tapas. And this is not the only tapas that he has done. In sadhana, Purascharana is one very important sadhana. I am not going to go in detail, but what it simply means is, whoever is your Ishtadevata or the God that you love will have a particular mantra. For example, Lord Shiva, if you want to worship, Om Namah Shivaya is the mantra. Suppose Vishnu, then Om Namo Narayanaya or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Such mantras are there. Now the mantras have number of letters. So every day you are supposed to do those many malas. So Om Namah Shivaya, generally they call it Panchakshari, or sometimes they call it Shadakshari also, because Om if you add. Then you are supposed to do Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. 108 times is one mala, 6 times you have to do every day. That is every day's, sadhana. Purasharana is when we do, suppose Om Namah Shivaya is the mantra, 6 letters, I have to do 6 lakh time the japa of that mantra. 6 lakh. And there are so many other things which you are supposed to do. I am not going to go in detail. But Pujya Gurudev took this Purasharana Vrata and he completed that in 56 days. From June 20th to August 14th, 1948. In the same year after he finished the yatra, immediately he took up this and every day he used to do 100 malas. Staying at one place, no contact with the world, no letters etc. in those days, and he has written, he was in contact with his sister before. So through the letter it is very clear. He is telling that now I have completed the yatra and now I am going to do this Purasharana. So I will be only sending the letter after 60 days, after it is over. So that also Pujya Gurudev has taken. Many people, they don't know this facet of Gurudev, because they think that everything came very simple to Gurudev. No. See, that's the facet that we should focus on. Why? Because it gives us a hope that if Gurudev also became so great, we also have chance of growing in spiritual journey. We may not become as great as him. It is impossible. But at least we can continue this path and grow in our spiritual journey. That is what is important. So he also took up this tapas, what we call Samadhi Shat Sampatti. Again, so much of, you imagine if he has to go through all these 500 miles walking, how much patience and what all things are required, right? So all that also he undertook. Now we come to the fourth qualification, and that is Mumukshutva. Mumukshutva means desire for liberation. That's the direct translation. And that Mumukshutva can be clearly seen in Gurudev's writing. Now this is actually interview that Pujya Gurudev had given to Champion magazine in 1949. And if you read, again here you will see that he is talking to himself, but he is referring to himself as a third person. See, he decided to seek for himself the meaning of true life and learn to follow the lonely path of divine life. This is also a reference to Divine Life Society. That's why D and L capital. You see, Divine Life Society is the place where Swami Shivanandaji's ashram was there. So he is thinking, Gurudev now has gone through all these things. In between, he used to come back to Delhi and continue with his work. But now he has taken a resolve saying that now I should give it up and go to ashram and become a sannyasi, become a renunciate. So that is what he is saying. And you see here, the japa came back to Menon. So we had seen that in childhood he used to do japa of that Lord Shiva. Now it came back to him. This decision was soon followed by an intense study of philosophy, both Indian and European. So he took up different kinds of studies. And it is said that for 3 years, very rigorous sadhana and study he did. First by himself, then under Swami Shivanandaji, and then under Swami Taponji also, that we will come to see. But with that resolve, he decided to give it up. For 3 years, Menon secretly pursued a life of strict spiritual discipline, remaining in the very palace of life. That is the place. Again, palace of life, you remember? Reference to that Delhi, party that he went to. That's how he had described that palace of life. Ever noisy with his gruesome agitations, the Swami paused. Now he is telling himself, okay, he paused. Then, so many things he said. Menon entered Anand Kutir. Anand Kutir is the kuti where he used to stay in Shivananda Ashram in Rishikesh. That Balan of the puja room instinctively loved Shiva and innocently lived. The same child, when grown up to become Sri Balakrishna Menon, in his intellectual honesty, or was it vanity, rejected Shiva and wandered. Later on, he divorced himself completely from Shiva and suffered. His rediscovery of Shiva and later on Sri Sadguru Tapovanam reached him to the temple of life. See, Mahatma's words may seem casual, but are never casual. You see how he is writing. Palace of life became now temple of life. He said that in between I went away. In childhood, how I used to meditate on Shiva and I used to do. Now I became young, I thought I can do everything by myself and I wandered. I thought that these sadhus are, parasites on the society. Now all that has turned back. Now I have come back on the path of spirituality. Now the Lord Shiva came back to my life. I decided to go to Swami Shivanandaji. That's how he writes. Right? So this is called as mumukshutva. Now he has decided that now I don't want anything of the world. I only want liberation. Now when you decide something like this, you have qualification for it, but you have to do preparation for it. What is the preparation? Permission is the preparation. First preparation. If you want to take up sannyasa, if you want to take renunciation, you need permission. And in our culture, in our religion, always we have to take permission from our parents. Right? So Pujya Gurudev also did that. He wrote to his father when he went to Swami Shivanandaji and asked, I want to take up to sannyasa life. So please give me permission. He said, I will give you permission, but first write to your father, take his permission. Then I will give. So it is said that Gurudev wrote to his father and also to Swami Taponji. Okay? And both of them replied. So what was his father's reply? First, he was shocked. Because remember, his father doesn't know about his transformation. He knows that youngster who used to oil his hair and long hair he used to put and used to ride, used to drive the cars very fast, not used to listen to anybody. Most notorious child decided to go to Lucknow University. That same child is there in his father's mind. So initially he said, are you sure you want to take sannyas? you sure? If you feel it is the right thing, go ahead and do it. Then he will tell his other family members, his father, this boy always does exactly what he wants. It is useless for me to stand in the way. So earlier he gave permission because he thought there is no point in saying no, because anyways he won't listen to me. But later on you see the second letter that he writes, where actually when Gurudev got such a reply, he explained to his father through letter how he met Swami Shivanandaji and how his life got transformed. So after reading all that, in the next letter he writes, you must have met a very great saint indeed to have influenced you so. Go ahead, I give you my permission. So thus Gurudev got permission from his father and also from Sri Swami Tapovanji Maharaj. This is the letter that is written by Tapovanji. I will just read it for you. He is writing in December 1948, okay? Received the letter. On reading about the firm determination, what else can be done to be happy, but be happy. Getting ready for the acceptance of sannyasa on Shivaratri is a new information as well. Reading that portion, the instantaneous thought in the mind was, what is the objection now in continuing in this form itself for some period, associating with saints, and if felt good, change of dress can be done after some time. So he is suggesting that why are you hurrying into sannyasa? If you think this life is good, continue like this for some more time, be in satsanga, study, and then later on take up. What more is there to write about? This much is written only because from the day of meeting, some special affection found a place in the mind. Now remember, Tapovanji Maharaj has met Gurudev only once, and he is writing like this. So that is called as connection. They met only once, but the Guru recognized the Shishya recognized the Guru. Then in the second paragraph, he is writing about Swami Jnananandji, Gurudev's cousin, He also was in contact with Shivananji Maharaj. So that's what he is talking about. Then he says, in all conditions, however difficult and tiresome the state may be, keep the mind joyous without getting into worries. With proper thinking, perform whatever is to be done without excitements, giving this advice again and again, wishing all types of victories, Swami Tapovanam. So he also gave permission. He also gave his blessings to take up this path of sannyasa. In Vedanta, if you study Bhagavad Gita, etc., or in any particular text, always once we get sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the next step is sannyasa. And the Jnana Yoga path starts only after sannyasa. Sannyasta shravanam kuryat. After you take sannyasa, then you do shravana, etc. So this path, has got a very important spot or juncture, and that is sannyasa. So that sannyasa diksha is what came next in Pujya Gurudev's life. So on 25th of February 1949, on the day of Mahashivratri at Rishikesh, Swami Chinmayananda Saraswati was born. 8th May 1916, that was Balakrishna Menon was born. These are Gurudev's words. Why? Because sannyas diksha, what we do is, when somebody takes to sannyasa, they have to do their own final rites. After that, their old name, old life does not exist. Because they are not going to get married, they are not going to have children, nobody will be there to do their rites. That person has to do their own rites, final rites. Shraddha karma, etc. Then Viraja Homa is there, where you have to give up everything, and then it is said that you are reborn as you take sannyasa, and therefore new clothes are given, new name is given. Right? So from Shivananji Maharaj, Rishikesh, Pujya Gurudev took this sannyasa diksha and he got name Swami Chinmayananda Saraswati. Often people, get confused with this, because generally whenever we speak of Pujya Gurudev's Guru, we refer to Swami Tapovanji Maharaj, because we'll see why. But actually sannyas diksha has come from Swami Shivananji, and therefore all other people who are in Chinmay mission who got diksha from Pujya Gurudev, all of them belong to the same parampara. And it is said that Swami Shivananji Maharaj got sannyas diksha from another Swamiji, his name was Swami Vishwananji, who comes under Sringeri parampara. So Saraswati is the title given to Sringeri. The Shanami Sampradaya is there. We'll see about that when we are seeing about Shankaracharya's life. He was the one who started this entire parampara. So under that Sringeri Matha, under the name Saraswati, Pujya Gurudev also got sannyasa diksha. Now from there, in Chinmay mission, most of the times sannyasa is given on Mahashivratri day, unless there is some exception. Generally the sannyasa diksha is given to new sannyasis on the day of Mahashivratri, and everybody will get name Swami dash Ananda Saraswati. That Saraswati is the title which has come from Sringeri. Ananda we keep as a respect to our Guru Parampara, our Gurudev, etc. And the name will be different. So Swami Advayananda Saraswati is there, okay. Some people decide to keep it or some people don't write it, but that name is there. Swami Sharadananda Saraswati, Swamiji writes. So Swami Tejomayananda Saraswati. Everybody has got that name, right? So that's how Puja Gurudev got this Sannyasa Diksha. Now if you, have you recognized Gurudev in the picture? Have you recognized? Yeah? Third from the right. Third from the right. Next to Swami Shivananji. This one. Okay. And this is the news article which came in Divine Life Society, and you know, which is announcing about the sannyasa, and here you see fourth number PBK Menon, Swami Chinmayananda. So there were some other people also who got sannyas diksha. Actually this is the picture of all the 6 or 7 sannyasis who are getting the diksha along with Swami Shivananji. Maybe one person is not there. Oh, behind Shivananji may be there. So on 25th of February 1949 he got this sannyasa diksha. Now what? Now from one master to the other. This is the picture of Swami Shivananji and Swami Tapovanji Maharaj. So they were very, I don't have to talk much about it because the video will explain. But you see, when Gurudev expressed his desire that he wants to go into the world and propagate this knowledge, Swami Shivananji thought that it is important for Gurudev. Now when we are referring to Gurudev, we mean our Gurudev, okay? Chinmayananji. Why? Because everybody refers to their Guru as Gurudev. In the video that we will be seeing, when they will be referring to Gurudev, it means Shivananji Maharaj, because that is their Guru. Right? So, Swami Shivananji suggested to our Gurudev that you must go to Tapovanji Maharaj and study Vedanta. Then only you will be equipped to go into the world and teach. Therefore, he sent Gurudev to Tapovanji Maharaj. Now let us see one very short video. Actually this video is the actual clippings of that time. So the occasion is like this. Swami Tapovanji Maharaj has come to Rishikesh. Birth celebration is there of Swami Shivananji. And they have organized big program. And Swami Tapovanji Maharaj has also come, and this video is being played later on, and Swami Chidananji, who was the next head of Divine Life Society after Swami Shivananji, Swami Chidananji Maharaj became the head, and he was also the person who studied with Puja Gurudev in Shivananda Ashram at that time, and who loved Gurudev very much. Some of the talks, if you have heard of our Guruji also, he mentioned Swami Chidananji very, very respectfully and very fondly. He was the one who taught us everything when Gurudev, attained Mahasamadhi, and we didn't know, none of the people in Chinmaya Mission knew what to do. So it was Swami Chidananji, Divine Life Society head at that time. He guided entire Chinmaya Mission, and he has got very, very fond love for Swami Chinmayananji, Gurudev also. So he is talking about, he is explaining about the thing.
A bridge, she on foot, and then a little group. This is the Guru of Swami Chinmayanandaji Maharaj. Swami Tapovan of Uttarkashi, very well known saint, very great meditator and a great scholar. Tapovan and Swami Shivanji were old-time companions when Gurudev first reached Rishikesh in 1924, and later on went and settled down in Swargashram on the other bank of the Ganges. At that time, Swami Tapovan also was living in Swargashram on the opposite bank of the Ganges. So they have been early companions. Long before Shivanji came to be known to the world, he and Tapovan were companions in penance and spiritual living in Sargashram. So they meet again. He used to come every year in winter down. Swamiji is showing him all around. Here they are going into the office. Swamiji is explaining to him the different departments. Then Swami Tapovanam is he is receiving some literature and people are prostrating to him. Chinmaya, Swami Chinmayanandi got all his training in Upanishad Gita from Tapovan. And the silent saint constantly immersed in God.
So as you can see, the video is fast forwarded because at that time, that's how it used to be. So this is the video, just tells you how closely Swami Shivanandaji and Swami Tapovanji Maharaj, used to be. As it is mentioned also, they knew for years. They knew each other for years. And so Shivanandaji suggested to Gurudev to go to Swami Tapovanji Maharaj. Now we'll conclude today's session with one very beautiful clip of Pujya Gurudev, where he is explaining about who is a Guru. How can we get a Guru? Do we approach a Guru, or does Guru come in our life? So we'll watch that video and then we'll conclude.
And the Guru, therefore, is not a physical entity. If you are considering the Guru as a physical entity, you will have to cry when the physical entity, Guru gone, Guru gone, Guru gone. Don't consider him as an entity. He is not an individual. He is a presence. He is the Lord Himself who is speaking to us for our benefit, guiding us, pulling us towards Him. So this great Atman, the Self, whom I see that Self as my Guru. My Guru is nothing other than that Brahman. To that Guru I prostrate.
Where do I find that Guru?
Want me to know? There is no question of you running after a Guru. The Guru comes to us. Never can a disciple go to the Guru. It's all drama. And then went to the Himalayas, and there I saw the Guru sitting under a tree, prostrated. Guru said, "Arey, sit down." And he said, he must have found that this disciple is very convenient for bringing the bhiksha for him. Guru always comes to you. It's something like the bees coming to the flower. The flower need not go in search of the bees. Without the bees, their life is not fulfilled. In order to pollinate the flower, the bees are necessary. But the flower need not worry about, no bee has come, why should I open? I won't open until bee comes. Bee comes and stands there, then I will open up. Oh flower, you stay there. Dance to the breeze and open up. And in the warmth of the sun, dance there. But then there are no bees. Bees will come. How are you so sure? It is a universal law. No flower has ever been opened up and didn't get a chance to get pollinated. Every flower will get a chance. Supposing there is a single in the mountain and alone there and nobody there, how will the bee go there? Naturally. If the bees or local bees cannot go there, Narayana will have to get up and say, Lakshmi, I am coming half an hour. As a bee, he has to come, pollinate and go back. And then when you go back, she will be very angry. Where did you go? Where did you go? How did you go? I went to bee. I want to be. You have been here to be. You were a being. No, I went to be. Until at last she died.
How will the Guru find me?
See? So that the flower's job is to open up. Oh, flower, you know not anything. What happens if you open up? You know only that you are a bud. When you open up, the color scheme attracts and the fragrance out of you, which as a bud you have no fragrance. When you open up, fragrance comes. The fragrance will be carried by the breeze. And the bees are so made that when they get the fragrance, they become crazy mad and they start flying towards it. And when they see the color scheme, they land there. But so long as you are a bud, no bee will care to look at you. It will run round and go to other flowers and you will leave it undone. So first you open up yourself. Stay where you are, where the Lord has kept you. As the son of your father, as the father of your children, never mind. Stay where you are. Open up. Open up. Purify your mind. The right time, the Guru comes to you as the bee comes to the flower. So then in case a Guru takes you in his hands or takes him under his wings to protect you, guide you, lead you.
So at this point, we saw the importance of Guru because that is what is going to happen to our Gurudev. Though it looks like he went to Swami Tapovanji, but as Gurudev explains very beautifully, Guru comes to our life. Right? So on the Ekadashi, we have Swami Tapovan Jayanti also. And today's special day also we have for Chinmay Mission because after Pujya Gurudev completed his study, now he got sannyas, in 1949, he went and he studied under Swami Tapovan Ji Maharaj, which we'll see in the next session. He came back to the field to share this knowledge, and the first talk that Pujya Gurudev took as Swami Chinmayananda in front of public was 23rd December 1951 in Harihar Samaj Rastapet Ganesh Mandir in Pune. So he came all the way from Uttarkashi, Rishikesh to Pune to take the first session, and the title was Let Us Be Hindus. So I will just read to you few lines of Gurudev's that talk. That talk is transcribed, entire talk is available with us. I'll just read the first few lines and you will understand what kind of teacher he was. This is his first talk, okay, ever. And in front of select few people, he is saying, a Hindu Swami to talk, a Hindu temple for the background, a crowded hall of a Hindu audience, and the subject for discussion, let us be Hindus. Strange. It sounds like a ridiculous paradox and a meaningless contradiction. I can very well see that you are surprised at the audacity of this sadhu. But Hinduism is not an external show that we have learned to parade about in our daily life. Hinduism is a science of perfection. There is in it answer to every individual, social, national or international problem. To inquire into the very textbooks of our religion with a view to knowing what Hinduism has to teach and how its message can be used to serve us as we face the problems of our daily life is the aim of the 100 days Upanishad Jnana Yajna, which is now proposed to commence on December 31st, 1951 here in Pune. And the talk continues. As Gurudev said, Guru takes you under his wings. We are lucky that we are under the wings of Shankaracharya ji and Gurudev, right? Count your blessings. That's what is very important. All right. Let us conclude for today. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।